Nelms,
Here.
Harden.
Here.
All right, you got 4.
All right. Now a motion to dispense the reading and approval. Minutes.
Second.
All right, motion by Counselor Nelms, seconded by Counselor Harden. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0. We just have one old business item, 050424, request for permission to add 14 parking spaces in the right-of-way at 65 Old Montgomery Highway for Covenant Presbyterian Church. This came to full council last week. There were concerns over line of sight and safety, and basically the applicant was in discussions over whether or not they'd be willing to proffer diagonal or change the request to diagonal angled parking. So that's where we are.
Yeah, and so since last week, I've talked to Daniel, who's here, and this is what they are now proposing, which is angled parking, 11 spaces, not the original 14. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, 11 is a best guess. I mean, once it gets engineered, laid out, it may be 12, it may be 10. But I mean, based off the dimensions and scale and that, that's what it could, that's what we care about.
I want to make sure that we're, as the city council, is the theory that it's harder to back straight out to see than it is at an angle. Is that, I mean, it's not that much different, I don't think.
I was confused. I thought the okay.
I'm just trying to understand why we did this.
Sure. Parallel space.
I mean,
Yeah, Counselor
I don't wanna
Andrus?
lose 3 parking spots. Well, we don't either.
We don't,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, if we had our druthers, we have 90-degree parking and.
I'm just trying to understand why we're at this angle thing, other than you can maybe see slightly
I
better.
thought I remembered us talking about it becoming parallel spaces, but I may be completely wrong.
No.
No, it was pull in,
Yeah, pulling straight out.
So
And I didn't,
No, go reverting to a parallel parking space.
Cause I don't like the I don't like the angled or the straight, but, you know, to make some kind of compromise, you know, I would want it to look at this.
and
Does
tell
that
me-
make sense?
Yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah, no, it makes
Okay.
sense. I mean, I think for us, and just from a costing standpoint, you know, we showed this 2 weeks ago, but,
Mhm.
you know, people are parking on the grass as it is now. I mean,
Right.
We're essentially getting the utility and spending no money. You know,
Right.
and for what it costs to do the engineering and pave this and everything else, I mean, I think we're willing to try to net 11, you know, I guess we probably net, you know, 7 spaces out of it from what we're doing day in and day out. But, you know, ideally, pulling straight in 90 degrees gives us, maximizes it, but we would settle for 11.
Okay.
Yes, and for what it's worth, the peak traffic times at the church are obviously Sunday morning.
Right.
And, our membership just recently went over 1,700 members. Our lot is landlocked. There's really nowhere else to build out, so we're trying to be as creative as possible
Okay.
to add on-campus
Okay.
spaces. But throughout the ordinary course of the week, you know, those spots wouldn't be utilized very much.
Right.
And really, too, you know, day in and day out, the people that, if we can do this, would be now parking closer to campus, are parking further away and crossing 1 or 2 streets, you know, to get over to the,
Yeah,
to the church.
we have a
So-
parking agreement with the Spine Center.
Right.
So right now,
Okay.
we're pushing people there. We have Homewood police officer that comes every Sunday to accommodate
Awesome.
street crossings there. So, and again, for what it's worth, a lot of our new members are young families with young children, and so the maximizing on-campus parking is something that we're
Okay.
striving for.
And one of my concerns is if we go at an angle, that people are not, they're not gonna come down and make the U-turn and come in. They're gonna come down and try and turn at an angle back at it, okay? That's just human nature.
Yeah.
And my perspective was if they come down and just turn straight in, you're gonna have, cause if they turn at an angle, they're gonna then have to back up and try and get, I just felt like it was easier to get in. I understand the getting out issue. I think that's our concern.
That was my concern.
Truthfully,
Yes.
if they all backed in, it'd make life easier, but no, only I do that. So,
one of those.
yeah, I'm one of those backing
Yes.
people. But, so you know, it's not, there's no easy answer here. But I never quite understood the angle other than, is it that you can maybe
I
have a
think
little
you see,
easy?
I think there's better sight
Uh-huh.
distance. I mean, there, you know,
Yeah.
there are
Yeah.
pedestrians that
Yeah.
use that
I mean-
road, there are kids that use that road.
Yeah, and then if you're
see that.
straight in, John, I think that you're gonna back out further even crossing the double line than you would if you just angle back. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, I got that.
Obviously, we love 90-degree because it maximizes our spacing. If we're angled in right here, if somebody's parked in here at an angle and they go to leave, they just back out right in this lane and they go.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just less invasive to.
Yeah, I can see
So
that.
that's, you know, and
I get
and
it.
these people are gonna be leaving when the service lets out.
Uh-huh.
And so it's more, you know, they're coming in, trickling in to park and leaving all at one time. So that's why we oriented it back that other direction.
And I mean, that's right. I mean, that was my
I got it.
question for discussion was around, you know, pedestrian and other traffic, because, I mean, I went out there, you know, I was telling y'all right before this, just to look at it one more time, and there was someone running along South Lakeshore, and I mean, there's definitely a volume there, definitely during school, but this, you know, as far as in the morning runners and also in the afternoon, that may not overlap, but just community at large uses that as a pedestrian route. So just trying to make it as safe as possible. I think the angle helps with that. So really appreciate you coming back with that consideration. I mean, if there's a traffic engineering analysis that says, hey, 90% an angle, same from a safety standpoint, I'll listen to that. I'm not an expert, but I mean, I appreciate the,
I see
you know,
that.
the graphic, because that was the concern.
Can I ask Mike a question? Mike, when we do all this, do we have to put a number in, or?
What I was gonna put is it's gonna be based on exhibit 1, which will be that drawing.
Which gives it 11?
Whatever the drawing is.
Okay.
And do you anticipate?
John Harrelson.
Do you anticipate too that the parallel parking on the opposite side of the road will just informally continue, I guess, too?
I mean, this doesn't solve our problem.
Right.
It helps.
Right.
You know, but it's inevitably people go and they park on that north shoulder as well. And the reason, a lot of the big reason people do it is because this is very close to where the children's entrances to the nursery.
Mhm.
And people are wanting to get as close to this as they can to that drop off.
And to John's point, I mean, again, you can't control behavior. People may try to turn wide and get in that angle parking. But I do think with the convenience of the roundabout, people hopefully will go in and at least look for the main lot and then come back out and be in the lane they need to be for the angle.
Well, this is part of kind of an overall parking strategy that we've got for the whole campus. It also involves kind of the traffic flow that we're gonna do internally.
Okay.
So we may have some control over that with the way we're routing cars around the parking lot, entering and exiting. When we have big events, Sunday mornings, you know, one-off things like funerals, there's a parking team that's out there. So you're not just leaving people to their, you know, to their whims. And, you know, we've obviously got an off-duty police officer that we can kind of debrief them on how we're gonna handle the traffic flow and that type of thing. So there'll be a little bit of onboarding that goes with it, but something we can work through.
Yeah, my only question really had to do with that storm inlet. I can't tell the dimensions on whether or not that's.
Right, we'll dig into that once they get
Problem.
survey and engineering and all that done.
Yeah, we've got a survey team out there now that's doing a survey of the whole campus for a long-term planning committee that's in the works for some larger stuff. But that piece of it would go into any kind of civil engineering we would do, you know, for this parking component.
Okay, I'll make a motion to allow them to create parking spaces at an angle with the proper indemnifications.
Motion by Counselor Harden,
Second.
second by Counselor Sims. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, so 4-0 out to full council next meeting, and with that, we stand adjourned.